One of the greatest things about junk journaling for me is that seemingly inconspicuous and randomly created things can lead to entirely new ideas. And so, from a small piece like this, after a few cups of this, something like this can emerge. Hi there, this is Luise Heinzel. Thanks for joining me today. Today's project is inspired by this little piece of tape. In my last video, I have shown you different ideas on how you could make your own tape for your own junk journal to decorate it. And with that, I have also filled this drawer where it says tape in my little cabinet I made for those supplies and those pieces of ephemera I have already prepared for the journal I'm working on at the moment. So that means I have this on my desk with all of the things I need to create my journal. If you haven't seen the videos about how I made this little cabinet and how I plan to use it, then please check out the info box of this video. There are videos linked where I explain this and where you can also see how this came to life. And in this little drawer where it says tape, I have now all of this. And during my German video, I also made this with these little pieces of thread here. This here I made, when I was recording the English version of the last video. But perhaps if you have seen that, you have also seen that there happened some happy accidents or something like that during a really experimental process of making tape. And because of that, I cut that part where I made this out from my video, because otherwise the video would have been too long. So I've decided to delete the footage of making this. But when I had finished editing the video and when I was thinking, oh, what do I want to do next? Then I thought, why don't we use this as an inspiration for something else? Because I found this so interesting and how this came out. I wanted to play with these threads the whole time. So I thought about some things, what we could do inspired by these pieces. I have already made some belly bands, as you can see here. These came to life during my German video, which is already online when you see this. So if you want to watch that, perhaps even if you don't understand German, of course, you're welcome to watch that. And why have I so many different things here? And why do I have, like 3 or 4, don't know how you want to see that, belly bands on my table here? That came because I thought it's a good idea if we have one thing as an inspiration, that we make several of those with several different techniques, but based on one and the same idea. And now I want to make another one, also, of course, inspired by this and by the things I could find out here. But believe it or not, all of these I made in the German video are made with exactly the same idea, with exactly the same thoughts behind, like what I want to do now, but I will explain what the differences are between those while I make this. Do you know what I mean? But I wanted to see what I like best from here to create another one. And I think that is a good idea to do because, you know, if you have something, then you can decide what you like best and then just make another one of those. So I have these gorgeous music sheets here. These are obviously handwritten and these are originals. This is not a copy or something. I got this in a really, really cute Happy Mail. And the first thing I want to do is I want to decide for the height of my belly band. And since I use DIN A4 paper for making my journal, I need 21 centimeters in height because I want to have the belly band exactly the same height like the pages, or the page is going to be because I don't have pages yet. So this is 21 centimeters now. And for the width, we can like eyeball that. let's take some thread. I have chosen thread in the colors of my journal. I have taken this little card here as the inspiration for my color palette. So we will have red and black as the main colors in the journal and some different kinds of brown. So I have chosen these threads. I have two different red threads because one is glossy, the other one is matte. And if I combine both, I have approximately the color I need. If you don't have thread, you can of course also use something else. For example, like something like feathers or so. Anything flat could be a good idea for this. I would recommend something that can't be destroyed if it peeks out on the sides. And when I made this other piece there, this somehow reminded me to guitar strings. Don't ask me why. I know that this is very abstract and a little bit weird perhaps as well, but it is what it is. And inspiration sometimes comes from really the strangest things. So don't laugh, okay? Or you can laugh because laughing is good. So I take thread in those colors and put that on here. If you want to do this, then I can recommend to take enough thread that you are like happy, you know, so that you can also see it really well, so that you can see here is thread, but don't use too much. Because when we now, oh no, I think I have, oh, okay. This will turn out a little different. That is okay. Because if you use too much, you will have problems to stick the tape down. So I'm taking just a regular tape. This is the Scotch Magic tape. I use this because this is matte and I really like that it is matte. And I just stick this on here. And if you have too much thread, the problem will probably be that you can't press this down so that the tape sticks to the paper, because that is what I want to do next. I go over this with a bone folder and you can see perhaps here it's a little squishy because here is a lot of thread. That is no problem because here is not so much, and then I can just press this down and it sticks really well. But if you would use too much thread, then you would get a, how is the word, hollow thing between the tape and the paper, and we don't want that. I mean, I will take this to my sewing machine in a second, but if you don't have a sewing machine, then it's probably even more important to do this, you know, don't take too much of the thread, I mean. So when I have that, I can already see that this will turn out totally different than the other one, because I made a little weird mistake, I guess. I mean, in junk journaling there are no mistakes, but I think I have put the tape too far to the edges, because not so much thread is peeking out here. Because, okay, I will show you what I originally have planned to do, and then we will change this whole thing so that I can make it work. I will tell you what I did like wrong, or in my mind wrong. I will go to my sewing machine now and I will sew around here, and then I will show you the next steps. Okay, so here I'm back. I just went around here where the tape ends with a running stitch. And now you have two possibilities. The first possibility is leave the size of this and ink the edges here. I mean, you can also leave the edges like they are, yeah? But if you want to ink them, you could do that here with some, for example, distress ink or oxide ink, watercolors or whatever. But you could also take this and tear this off, this edge, because the sewing did perforate the paper here, and that gives us the possibility to just tear this off, and that gives a really nice edge here. Really interesting, I would say. And I like it better when the sewing is close to the edge of something, in this case to the edge of this belly band, but please do what you like better, tearing or not tearing. And now, yeah, my problem is I didn't pay enough attention to leave enough of the threads peeking out here. Can you see? It's not that much, but that is peeking out here. That was not the plan. But I will cut these open because, as you can see, these are like loops. And of course you could leave them also like they are, but I like it better when they are just hanging out here like so. But I could be really angry with myself at the moment because this is not what I wanted to have. Because on the other ones looks way more interesting because there's more thread. Can you see? This looks way better when there's more peeking out. How can we do that we get a similar style? I mean, that is not necessarily important, of course. We can also do things in different styles, but why does that always happen to me when I record a video? Okay, so I have just changed my mind. I will use this piece for making something else. I mean, this is not wasted. I can still use this for something else. So let's do it a little bit more clever. And I just found out a good trick. Take your thread, do it like this, and then pull it apart a little bit and put it to the piece like so, like in rows. Perhaps you can see that this is one row, this is one row, this is one row, and so on. So I have taken different portions of this, just like so. And then I've pulled it apart and just put it on here like this, so that here on the sides we have more peeking out. I think that looks way better than if it was like this. And of course, instead of tearing the edge here of the paper, you could also try to get the tape really correctly here to the edge of the paper. This is really hard for me. I mean, I could manage it here obviously, but I thought just taping it down and then tearing it could be even easier. But this is of course also a possibility. So now I will go over this really well, and then I will take this to my sewing machine again, and I will sew around this piece in exactly the same way I did it a second ago. This looks already 1000% better than the other piece. So now let's take our scissors and let's cut these loops open, and let's for a moment feel like a really professional hairdresser, just like this. Ah, yes, okay, that's what I was looking for. I really like this. Ah, this is like a little pet. So then we have that. That looks so cool. Then let's decide what we want to do on here, because besides the fact that we could leave this exactly like it is, we could of course do something here. On this piece, I have put the thread only here and left this and this free. I think that looks really interesting. I made a little hole here to attach this little thing. And then I've sewn over this with my sewing machine to imitate the strings of a guitar. I know that this is very abstract, and perhaps if you don't know what this shall be, then you can't see it. But if you know it, I think, yeah, this is an abstract guitar. Here on this piece, I realized the same idea, but with smaller circles and more than one. This is not a guitar anymore, but this was inspired by this. What am I trying to say? If you have one idea with, for example, this big circle and the hole, try to vary the same idea on different pieces, because with the same idea you can then get totally different results. On this one, I found out something with archival ink, and now I want to try to combine everything, I think, on this piece. So, I think I really like the idea of having this big cutout here. So let's perhaps first do that. I have some of my labels here from an ephemera pack, which is called Labels der Schrank. Der Schrank means the cabinet. I have named this with the German word for cabinet, Schrank, because everyone who has seen the cabinet before I have shown it somewhere said, "Oh, that Schrank is so wonderful." I mean, that have been German people, of course. Or not of course, but obviously. So I decided that I name my ephemera pack like that as well. And the things on these little labels, there are round labels available in this ephemera pack, and also rectangular labels and squared labels. I will link the ephemera pack down below for you. It's available in my shop. And all of these little fragments come from the cabinet, from the Schrank I bought, and I made this digital from them because I thought that is a nice thing, and I wanted to give you something that comes from my craft room. That was the main idea behind that, and I thought that is perhaps nice, and your feedback told me that that was a good idea, because so many of you have already purchased this, and that makes me just so happy. Thank you very, very much for your support. That means the world to me. And your comments are so cute, and you have left so nice reviews also in my shop. That doesn't only help to support me, but it also makes my days better. And I'm really, really happy that you like this. So if you haven't seen it and you want to check that out, then you can find the link down below in the description box, and you can also find a video on my channel where I show you different ideas on how you could use these labels in a really, I would say basic way. There's one video where I show you some basic ideas. Also, in that video, I also give you some tips how you could cut these things out in a really fast way, because, you know, they are small. So I think this could be a great arrangement. What do you think? Is that one too much? Yeah. Okay, let's take only 3. So now I will take this and I will make a little line here. I turn this upside down so that I don't accidentally get this blue stuff on the front. And I mark where I want to cut this out. And then this circle is now, of course, the same size like these circles are. But when I go to my sewing machine now, I will sew around these circles with a little distance to the blue line. I will show you in a second why I do that. I think I went a little crazy with my sewing, but we will see in a second if that was a good idea or not. But what you can see here is the sewn circles are way bigger than what we have here, which is the same size like these tiny round labels. So now We can decide if we want to cut out the whole thing so that there's really a hole. That was what I did here. I've just cut this out completely and then I've sewn over this here. Or what we also could do, and that's what I have done here, we could just cut into the tape and then just tear the tape off without cutting into the threads or without cutting the threads off at all. And we can then also remove the paper there where the holes are. And that is a hard decision because you get obviously totally different results from this or this method. I think we are going to try a combination. This circle in the middle I will cut on the blue line. And the sewing around here, of course, helps that this can't fall apart. We can also then take this, I will do that later when I finish the video, and take this to the sewing machine, sew around here, so that this can't fall apart. Then we can use this as part of a cluster or something like that for the journal. So we will save that. And now we have this hole where this now should fit in perfectly. And of course it does. Like so. I think that looks already really interesting. But for these, I want to try what I did here. So I will poke into the tape. And since the sewing has also perforated the tape, of course, and since it doesn't stick so extremely to the thread, I can just take this and peel this off. And it tears exactly there where my sewing is, because it's like perforated. Sometimes in some areas it needs a little help, but this is really easy to do. And now this is free from the tape, and now we can holy moly, yeah, I forgot a piece. Now we can decide if we want to tear the paper as well, and I think we will try that, but only a little bit, just like this. And now this opening gets, of course, bigger than this is. But that is interesting, because then, if we do it like this, we have the threads still here and a little portion of the paper. And then if we take this now and we put it behind, we can see it's like flying in there with this little gap around. I will show you that in detail and a little more closer when I have sewn this on. So I will do the same thing here. So now I will go to my sewing machine and I will take this and the 3 circles, and then I will sew over this so that the circles are attached behind the holes here. Hui. I nearly had another accident on my sewing machine, but now I have this, and I really like how this came out. And with attaching these smaller circles in these bigger holes, you automatically get, can you see that? This free space there. I don't know if you can see that. There's so much thread, but with your eyes, I mean, when you do this and you see this in reality, you can see that there's a hole, you know. I don't know if you can see that. It's like a little really weird shaped window, and I really like that. And what else could we do here now? I found out that if you use an ink which can dry on tape, you can get really cool effects. So this was made with some archival ink. This is exactly made like this, yeah, until this step. But why does this look so different? Because I have taken some archival ink black soot And I carefully, hopefully this will work again, went over this like so. And because of the texture of the thread, you get a really interesting look. You can now either leave this like it is, if you like it, or what you also could do is you could take a paper towel, and that is what I did here, and remove some of the ink there where you think it's too dark. That's why this looks grayish and black at the same time. There where it looks more gray, I have removed the ink with a paper towel, or let's say not really removed. I've smeared it around, I would say. And I think I want to do that in some areas here as well. So I've just taken a dry paper towel and went into these little areas here. That way you can also bring the pattern that the thread and the ink gives you out a little bit more, and you get this gray. I think that is a nice addition here, so that the music paper is not so bright anymore. I like this gray really much on this piece, but perhaps also not everywhere. Here I think this looks good. So yeah, please do it like you like it. So then, since we have this here, I've cut that out because I first thought we need more. Can we use this somehow? Shall we perhaps just glue this down here? Why not? Somehow I like that. And then I want to decide, do I want to have gold on here as well? Here I went around the circles with a little bit of gold. I used a pen for that. First I thought that was a complete fail because I didn't like it until I glued these roses down. Somehow I have the feeling that there are belly bands that want to be in the foreground, like this one for example. And then I think there are belly bands that want to be in the background. Please imagine these are not, would be not here. This is so background-ish. And when I glued the roses, then I thought, okay, now it's finished and now this is good. But it needed the roses, do you know what I mean? And that is somehow a little bit hard to decide, because I don't know if I want to use this pen again. But what about some gilding wax instead of the pen? Can we perhaps get something from that that looks better? I was hoping that perhaps the texture of the thread comes out a little better, but that doesn't really happen. And I think my archival ink is not dry yet. Also not such a good thing. But I somehow like this subtle gold. It is, can you see that? It is just a tiny detail. And somehow I like it when it's smeared with, together with the archival ink. I don't know why, but that looks somehow interesting. And I like that we can still see the music sheet. That is good. What do you think? I think that's nice. Do we have something similar to this, or perhaps also one of these roses, so that it is the same, to put on there. So let's take out this little drawer where it says buttons and beads. This thing with the drawers is just so handy. I'm so enjoying using this and having this on my desk. This is just so inspirational and so easy to handle, because before I had... What is that? Why is that working? Before I had this, I mean, in a situation like this, I would have had to make a break and stand up from my chair, go to my drawer of where I store my buttons, go to my drawer where I store these, go to my drawer where I store these, and look if I have something that fits on here. And that would have destroyed my process and my flow totally by having this little drawer where I have choices of different things. That can't happen anymore, and that is so great. And you come to things that work where you would have never thought about that could work. I mean, this is just amazing. This little button, and this is a snowflake on there. And I have just chosen that because of the color. Yeah, not because of the snowflake, but because the color matches the rest. And that this is so amazing here, I would have never expected that. And I would not have this here without this drawer and this method of doing this whole thing. And I think I already said that in the German video when I made this, but I have to say it again because I'm so surprised about myself. I'm asking myself if I have ever made a belly band which is so kitschy like this and this. I mean, I'm using hearts here. What happened to me? But I really like this. This is absolutely fantastic. I'm just thinking, oh my goodness. Yesterday I have cut out some of these leaves, and I also made these by using some overhead transparency with some ink spray, spray stain on it, some crayon through a stencil, and then I have layered these to get this also as a decorative element for my journal, because, you know, black and red. And I'm just realizing that I need to take this off again to be able to glue this down. This is just a portion of the die cut. The rest I have used for making the others there. And I want to have this here. I'm going to take another of these round labels here to get that back to the foreground, and I place it exactly there where the other one is, and then the button on top. What do you think? And what I also want to know, I really want to know, which one do you like the best? Number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4? Please let me know. And please make your own. This is so much fun. And after I have finished this, so of course I have to take some photos for the thumbnail of this video and for Instagram and so on. But then when I have finished that, these belly bands will go into this little drawer where it says pockets and tucks. I have removed this divider because here on the other side it's cluster and banner. So I have my cluster and banner things here, but that is no problem. I can see what this is, and you know, I can just store this in here without getting confused, hopefully. So then these can go in here, and this can then go back into my little cabinet there. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'm really hoping that you like not only the idea of this belly band, but also the idea of this storage system. I'm so hoping that you will try that out, because for me it's so helpful, and I'm hoping that it's helpful for you as well. That's why I'm trying that why I'm saying that so aggressively. So have a very great day, and see you the next time. Bye bye.